Welcome back, John.
It's like a fun
Yes.
little family reunion. Good to see you both.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
we're
this
glad
is great.
you're
Great.
back.
Now, as I said, we had a number of questions that came in last time. The first of those was about a, a scenario that the particular listener has that is talking about specialist needs. So this, for the listeners, if I just give you some background, this is about a special needs service provider for early childhood intervention and education. What the listener is talking about is that they use rice as a play element, because if they use sand, which would be the normal thing that would be used, the children will eat the sand and they don't eat the rice, which is quite interesting in itself. But the tactile sensation of the rice is better for them in a learning sense. What our listener is concerned about is that her staff, and to some extent the organisation, the corporate organisation she works for, are concerned about the sustainability implications of them using rice for this play activity. And is there some way that they can research what else they can do, not in terms of what they can use, but in what they can do in a corporate sense to show responsibility in terms of sustainability, that they have thought about it, that they're following the research, that there's what she said was, is there some offset plan that they can use? So all of that said, John, tell
It's
us
an
what they can
it's an
do.
interesting it's a really interesting predicament. And I think overall it's important to remember, and this applies to everybody, is you don't have to do everything, especially in a sort of a corporate sense. And I think a lot of times people feel as if as a corporation you need to represent every single thing and sort of
Mm,
be like
mm,
Greenpeace. But
yes,
in a
yes.
lot of ways there are particular elements within a corporation, regardless of if it's in education or in mining, particularly mining, that you won't be able to do particular things. And I think certainly with this particular example, there may not be necessarily a need to try to offset that, especially if it's rice, because rice is a fairly abundant sort of source. So it's not as if they're
Okay.
using a small plastic beads that are manufactured
Mm,
in a
mm,
developing country by a child. So I think
yes.
generally speaking, they could probably sleep quite well, that they're not necessarily having a massive impact. But I think even more interesting is that they're thinking of this and they're saying,
Yes.
"Oh, that this might be an issue. What can I do to prevent it?" And I think that is the most important part, because that's
Yep.
showing that people are understanding what's going on
Mm-hmm.
and that every little piece of the puzzle within their corporations may have a positive or a negative impact. So even just demonstrating that they've thought through the reason of why they're doing this and the potential implications for anybody, sort of watching or their stakeholders, I think that is enough sometimes, just
Yes.
to not necessarily try to hide anything. I always tell people, your stakeholders don't need you to be perfect. They just don't want you to lie to them. So
Mm,
just showing a little bit of forethought into this. And then also, if there's a particular passion point or a thing that the company is doing quite well, whether it's at a local or you said they're sort of a bigger a bigger
mm,
organization, bringing that to the forefront and talking about that as well
yeah.
as a way to, we use the word offset. Your caller used the word
Mm,
offset
mm,
to show that they've thought through this and that they are doing things to make it a little bit better. But I think they can rest pretty easy that they're
well,
doing
that's
the
good.
right thing.
But I think the essence too of the answer is that is they're not trying to do everything, and they don't have to have all of the answers. But if really, really rewarding to know that they are thinking about it. Yes.
Absolutely. And I think particularly in that space where it is, and remember when we talk about sustainability, that's obviously a loaded term. Sustainability, usually people think the green side of things, which is
Mm,
important, and it's the part that gets the most PR, but it's only one portion of everything we do. There's an entire social element and education, particularly around, different sorts of populations that this person is working directly with.
yep. Yep.
That social good, honestly, in my opinion, would outweigh any potential small impact
Mm,
from the
mm,
environmental perspective that they could be having for using rice. So
yeah. Yeah.
balance it out a little bit and look at the larger picture.